What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.
Oh, yes. Another episode of the Weird and Whatever podcast. How is everybody doing?
Doing well. I feel like we're all a little sleepy on this Sunday.
I think we are a little. I thought I was going to have a bunch of energy on this Sunday. This is the day I'm tired.
Well, you had a big karaoke night.
Oh, we did have karaoke. We do this thing at Blue Martini, all the Blue Martinis here in South Florida, and it's cocktails and karaoke. And yeah, man, it does something to the soul, brother.
It'll get away from you.
I'm coming to the next one. You have a karaoke machine at my house.
Yeah.
I'm not good. That doesn't mean I'm a good singer. I just...
You got a machine, so it has the microphone and then has all the music on it already?
Yeah, it's from South Korea.
Do you have a karaoke go-to song?
Yeah, Third Eye Blind, Some Charm Kind of Life, I think is kind of my go-to.
Okay.
All right.
Vicky, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Actually, I'm not tired.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Well,
I'm in the minority here.
Give us your
all the energy.
Yeah, give us your energy.
Okay.
Put your hands out. Yeah. Oh, nice. I'm already feeling alive. Do you ever do karaoke?
No.
Would you ever do it?
No, everybody would leave the building. Trust me.
You know what you should do? You should do Ghostbusters. That would be awesome.
Bobby Joe and I could do a duet.
Oh, there you go.
We would love that. Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe.
Denise, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I got some wicked allergies going on.
Sure you do. Yeah.
From.
Yeah, you're not stoned.
Well, I mean, it doesn't help, but I don't know why. I guess
Sunday
it's
was
bad.
a bad idea.
So everyone tuning in, we are doing it for on Sundays now because we've had a little bit of a schedule mix-up. Vicky's got to do some
Real job.
some real stuff.
Yeah.
And just, other reasons too. So we're going to try it on a Sunday. We'll see how it goes. So let's get into it. A lot of weird stuff in the news, cryptozoology style. Did you guys see the story about the Bigfoot sighting in North Carolina? No?
I didn't see that one. I saw the other one that we're going to talk about.
It was, and I believe producer Angelica is playing the clip right now. It was the worst Bigfoot footage I've ever seen.
It looked horrible.
And it went completely national. Everybody was covering on it, and it was so shitty. I couldn't believe it.
Worse than that, in the sense it was obvious it was fake.
It was so fake. It looked like a costume. The guy, as he's getting the action, he happens to put the camera down on the ground, and everyone bought on that. Stories like that set us back 10 years, guys.
Right.
Well, then there's other ones that are more convincing that don't make any news whatsoever.
Yeah, there's a one really good picture. I think it's one of the better ones. It's of a Florida skunk ape. And if you just put most credible Florida skunk ape picture in Google Images, it'll come right up. It looks like some type of humanzee, like almost a big, I wouldn't say human, but a giant ape-like thing. And you're like, what's that doing out in the Everglades? But that's a really good, credible one. So I highly recommend that one for you guys to check out.
Okay.
The other thing, have you guys heard about the South Carolina woman saying that the lizard men are going to be coming out during the eclipse?
No.
Did you
Yes,
see
I
that?
did.
That's
see that.
big news.
Yeah, lizard men. I know you don't like the lizard men, Mr. Beckett.
Bring them out.
But there is a growing movement of people who say there might be something to this reptilian race.
They went from 7% to 8%.
7.5% people believe this now. No, but she's saying something like the eclipse, the solar eclipse, or the solar eclipse, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
coming out. Is going to bring out the lizard men.
Eclipses are cool. You ever seen them before?
I remember is this the one that happens every 30 years or something? The one that's about to happen?
Well, this is the one you can look at if you do the two-paper method.
This is going to be like a
Or
Y2K
special glasses.
thing.
Or special glasses.
It's going to like a Y2K thing. Everyone's going to talk it up, and it's going to be like...
There's a lot of hype.
Crickets.
A lot of hype behind it. But there's some people, and I want to get your opinion on this, Vicky. They say during this eclipse, more paranormal activity happens. Thoughts?
Well, I guess we'll find out on the 21st.
Have you ever heard of something like this before?
I've never heard, but I mean, it doesn't happen often enough for me, to have much data on it or to experience it as a paranormal investigator.
And just to reiterate, say yay or nay. Do you believe in the lizard man? Mr. Beckett?
Nay.
Vicky?
No, but I can figure out why people are mistaking people for looking like lizard men.
Well, I can agree with that.
Explain.
Okay, I'm thinking that I've seen people like with certain tattoos and certain things they've done to themselves, and their skin could, from a distance, look like a reptile.
There is that one dude that made himself look into it like a snake.
lizard
Right.
tattoo
with
guy.
with
Yeah.
the fangs.
Yeah.
Just need
So-
more tongue.
There may be something like that going on. If people are actually legitimately seeing something, maybe that's what it is.
People just need to moisturize more. We'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
a little ashy.
So you're saying people can look like lizard men, but not subscribing to the idea that they're a race of lizard men controlling
Right.
all the movements.
Right.
And the last thing on the hot topics table here, the clip that I brought in, I played it on the KVJ show. Didn't really get much of a reaction from the guys in the room, but they're not really into this kind of stuff. It is. Do you have it, Denny?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, nice. It's so I was out in my townhouse and I heard this really odd, weird hum. We've talked about this before, mysterious sounds that nobody understands what they are. And they have been not spotted, but heard throughout the entire world. Now, Denny's got to pull it up really quick. But yeah, so it was something so loud, I had to go out of my townhouse and start recording it. But I asked anybody if they had heard it. This was on a Saturday, last Saturday, around 4 o'clock hour. Not one person has heard it. Not one person has called in, email, and this is what it sounds like. It stops, comes back up. What do you guys think?
It's crazy. So that was 4 a.m.?
No, in the afternoon.
4 in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, nobody else has claimed to hear this. And this was not coming from the highway side. It was coming out from the western part of where I live at.
Okay, that was the first thing I was going to ask you is how close you are to either I-95 or the Turnpike, and especially if you were near like an overpass or something like that. How close?
I'm not that close to where it would be. You can't hear the highway from our place.
Okay.
So
I've heard this sound before in Colorado in a completely different location, and same type of thing, not necessarily near the highway. But I was told it was the sound of like tectonic plates shifting, and that it can be you can find these sounds all over the world.
yeah, if you go on the internet and you type up weird hum, there's this sound or a variation of that sound all over the world, and nobody really knows what the hell it is.
It's all speculation at this point. but
All speculation.
Sounds like a swarm of trains.
Yeah, what people emailed and said it sounded like bees.
Bees is the
There's
big one.
no way those are the bees. Someone said there are motorcycles on the highway. Hell no. Why would all these motorcycles go by and I would only hear the motorcycles and then they stop and they come back? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then other people think it possibly could be some type of construction that I couldn't tell. That doesn't sound like construction either. I don't know.
And it
It
definitely
was a
wasn't,
Saturday, like a 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't the little girl.
The little girl that lives in my place. I don't think so. It was coming from outside. It was coming from the sky. But it felt like there was a vibration to it. Yeah.
Yeah, they get them out in England as well, in the Netherlands.
So me and Denny's have been watching this awesome special. You guys have to check out. It is really good. I would probably say one of the better UFO specials.
What's cool about it too is it's current.
It's current.
So everything in it is very recent, which is awesome. Because a lot of the documentaries you find are from like the early '90s and stuff, and you're like, all right, what's happened since then?
Yeah, it's called UFOs Uncovering the Truth, and it's on the network Destination America. I highly recommend going and listening to it because one of the episodes has this thing called Deathbed Confessions of people who are in the military or former astronauts who, before they die, they say, do you have that
They
clip?
like spill the beans.
Do you have that clip or is it email as well?
It's in the email as well, but it's I think Angelica's got it to play up for the people. But the cool thing about that show too is they play both sides. They'll give you like a scientific reason why it could have been, and they'll also give you the paranormal reason or
Interesting.
So it's pretty neat how they do it.
Wonder why is it on Destinations America?
That's just the network. They have it on there.
Yeah,
It's
weird.
just all over the United States, different locations in the United States.
I think the show. I mean, it's just pretty much anything around paranormal. They'll reference other countries as
Yeah,
well.
they were talking about how they think there's definitely life on Mars at some point, that there was a civilization on Mars and that it got wiped out somehow, but there still may be something there, and that some people in the military possibly know about this stuff. Is there a shot that we've ever had life on Mars? Is that something you would believe or no?
Life, yeah. Humans. I don't
Not
think
humans, but I'm
Life,
saying
yeah.
some type of,
Yeah.
you know, some type of species of some sort.
Yeah, I don't think an intelligent one.
Not an intelligent one? Why?
I think organisms.
Why do you think this?
Just from what we've seen from like the rovers and what we've studied and satellite stuff and samples that we've taken and
Vicky, you're awfully quiet.
I think anything's possible. I think it was probably before we were here. before any recorded man could have, done anything, possibly.
Well, people are saying this is a growing theory that the reason why we're starting to see all of these UFOs in the sky, because they're doing all this crazy shit now, is because the UFOs have crashed and we have reverse engineered them, and that's why we're able to do all this stuff. That kind of makes reverse engineering makes sense to me.
Reverse engineering would make sense to me.
For sure.
You're saying that the military captured something?
Like they captured an alien vessel, and then they're breaking down the technology to see how we could use it.
Because everyone's saying now they're seeing, all these ships in the sky, and the first thing will say, oh, it's the military. It's the military. Well, it is the military, but what you're seeing possibly is a combination of UFOs from outer space and UFOs from the military. It's coming from both people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of the stuff they've got now, it looks just like a flying saucer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
And they're also talking about how there's a lot of ships that go down in the water now.
Yeah, well, they're saying that instead of aliens hiding on land where we could find them, they go into the ocean because their technology allows them to go underwater without being affected.
Yeah. I don't think they would need to hide. If their technology is that good, they could just do what they want. Like, in my opinion, like, they would have the power to do whatever they wanted here to us. You know what I mean? Like,
unless they're here observing to kind of get things, it's like just as if we were shooting like a documentary for animals out in the Sahara, you kind of observe, you try not to mess with.
What's that called? The fifth wall?
Break the fifth wall with them. Because, I mean, if you help those animals, you're watching the animal die and you're like, oh, I feel bad, and you got to help it. I mean, you're ruining the order.
Well, Lieutenant Philip Corso that I was talking about, he was talking about how he saw an alien himself. This was a highly decorated military man. He said they performed an autopsy on an alien. He said he without a doubt saw these things. He saw what it looked like. Why would they risk their reputation they spent their entire life on? That
much credibility.
Why would you lie about that? Is he lying? Is a guy like that lying? Did he not see an alien? What benefit would that guy have to lie about? To ruin your reputation?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, he wouldn't have any reason.
Unless he gets senile at his old age. A lot of that happens to a lot of people.
But if you watch, some of them are very cognitive still.
I'm going to watch it. I started watching a documentary on Netflix. Can't remember what it was, but the guy ended up being like nuts at the end of the day. So
this guy definitely wasn't nuts. And if you're senile, is that when you lose what does senile mean?
You just kind of like
lose touch with reality.
Yeah.
Really, like thoughts and things you imagine in your head, you believe to be real.
Yeah.
But I'm interested. I'm gonna watch it.
Please watch that special.
You have to check this one. This one's solid.
I highly recommend this special.
Well, so recently NASA released all of the documents, and the government released all of. I guess there's a certain span of time until they can release all their information, and they did, and that's what this whole thing is breaking down what they've released. And there's a ton of stuff.
I was curious, how much more hate mail do you get, the moon landing or lizard?
Moon
down the middle.
We get a lot of hate email from moon landing for Denny's, because Denny's does not believe the moon landing ever even happened. You think we've never even been on the moon?
No, I think we've been to it now, but I do not believe up until probably the late 90s we got to it.
The late 90s?
Yeah. They released a second moon landing video, man, and it's equally as bunk as the first one.
They're saying, too, there's a growing conspiracy that the military is without a doubt in charge of NASA, and NASA's just a front for the military, so they can do all
NASA's
that.
a division, obviously.
Yeah, but they're saying like the head military people, what they're doing is their sole purpose is to develop and use that UFO technology. That's really what NASA is.
Well, I'm sure they definitely want to use that technology, because then we can get to other planets and then expand even further. Because eventually we'll run out of stuff here.
Let's shift gears here. I'd like to ask Vicky. So I'll get an email for you, Vicky. Okay. This question's for Vicky. My husband and I recently divorced, and it appears I will be getting the house. He's been living with his girlfriend in the house for the past 2 years. I want to clean out all of that energy. All of you have previously talked about saging and smudging. What would you recommend? I don't believe there are any spiritual entities there, but I want to go home with calm energies. How do I go about doing that? Smudging, saging, using sweetgrass. What do you recommend?
I would still recommend the sweetgrass over the sage. And I would go through the houses. There's other people that believe, and I know this sounds silly, you take lemons and you don't cut them or anything, but you put them in certain rooms, and they supposedly absorb any kind of negative energy. and then that kind of cleans your space. Plus, they kind of smell good or whatever. And you'll notice the rooms that the lemon like shrivels up faster was the room that had the most negative energy in it.
Very interesting.
Those are a couple different things.
So I found this bag in my laundry room, and it's of my ex-girlfriend. And then I found shoes. Then I found a bunch because I was cleaning out my place. Is it possible ex-girlfriend stuff left behind can ruin your shit, just your vibe?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Absolutely.
Is that an energy thing? Because I have a feeling I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, well, you're creating that energy because you're giving her the energy by thinking about her and bringing up the negativity. Okay, so my question to further that. So is it just in my head making that energy, or is it possible that could be producing an energy?
I do believe that certain things left behind by people, whether they're living or deceased, can contain energy. So it depends on how much she would want her energy to interact with yours. I think it has to. It's partially the intent of the person who has the belongings left there.
Do I need to? What do I do? Do I be rid of these?
Get rid of them, man.
Do I have?
Well, my first question is, why are you hanging on to
That's
them?
what I was going to say.
I didn't know I had them. I didn't realize they've been in there for a long, long time.
I personally would get rid of them.
Stop sleeping with the shirt.
No. I am not. I'm not sleeping with this shirt. It's not a shirt. It's just things.
Yeah, burn them, man.
I won't get into it.
But if it brings up negative thoughts, definitely get rid of it.
I'm not saying it brings up negative thoughts. I'm just wondering if it's possible. It's creating some kind of energy that I may not be aware of. Is all I'm asking.
The lock of hair of the fireplace needs to go.
I wish I had a fireplace.
Dude, set them on fire. You should burn them.
What's that?
You should burn them. Release that into the sky. So
Is that kind of insulting though to burn? That's kind of that's almost like Facebook fishing. Look at me, I'm burning my pain. Everyone,
don't tell anyone.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna film
Well, now
it.
It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Now we're talking about it. No, I'm not gonna burn them. I guess
I'm gonna go purge my home when I get home.
I say burn them, man.
Do you have stuff of your ex?
I'm thinking. I think I do.
I think it's healthy just to get rid of that stuff. Maybe keep.
What if it's something that's expensive? Then you gotta like a really nice pair of shoes.
Well, I mean,
then you gotta give it back.
I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, if you have the opportunity to give it back, I would give it back.
Mail it
okay,
to her.
time out. Yeah, I'm just saying. Is that really a good idea sometimes?
Well, no. What you would do in your case, you would have Denny's call her.
No,
and say, "Do you want your stuff back?"
No, I think sometimes you just gotta,
mail it.
Sometimes in life things just get lost. Sometimes, and you don't get them back.
That's what I was saying. Burn them, so then there's no evidence.
All of a sudden, Denny's is making some sense.
Like, have some pigs eat it.
It's fun. I got another email here. I got a lot of feedback about dreams. We're talking about my dream or my nightmare problems from last week. We got an email from Chelsea. Hi, Weird and Whatever. I have very vivid dreams very often. Last night I had one. Someone who passed on was in it, and now that's all I can think about. Do you believe loved ones who pass on use that as a way to communicate with us? Also, as weird as it sounds, I feel like I'm having conversations with him now. I am awake. What are your guys' thoughts?
Communication through dream is one of the easiest ways that spirits can communicate with us.
You truly believe this?
Absolutely, because we're in a different state when we're asleep.
Denny's, you don't believe this, do you, Denny's?
I'm more on the subconscious is going pretty heavy during the dream state.
Here we go. Quick debate. Virginia calls you Virginia. Oh man, Vicky versus Denny's. Here's the debate. You guys are going to debate your stance. Me and Beckett will
observe.
Decide who wins, and then if it's a tie, producer Angelica will break it. Here we go, Hunger Games style. Go, Vicky. You go first.
Well, I believe that because we're in an altered state, that loved ones who have a message for us will use that opportunity. Now, I'm not saying that in your dream that it's 100% spirit driven. I think that if you look at your dreams, you have components from your day or your life in almost every single dream that we dream every night. However, I do think that there are valuable messages that come to us. This woman, in addition, once she did that, she started thinking about the person more, and now she thinks she's interacting after the dream. That could have been that spirit's way of saying, hello, I'm here, pay attention to me. Once they got the attention, she was able to continue it.
Denny's rebuttal.
All right, perfect. I do subscribe that you are in a more susceptible state, which is why I think your subconscious is definitely taking over at that point. And the reason being is that think about all the times you can't sleep just in normal life because something's weighing down on you. That's the power of your mind over your body. So when you're laying there, you're going to be thinking about things you're vulnerable about, especially the passing of a loved one or the leaving of a person. So those are definitely going to hover in your subconscious and probably help you while you're sleeping to get through such a tough time. Because during the day it's going to be rough, and at night your body's almost rehabilitating while you sleep. I mean,
okay. Woo, what a showdown that was. Mr. Beckett, who do you vote
should
for?
have had a timer.
Eileen, even before I heard them talk, I was a little.
Oh, no, you can't do it that way.
I know, but I agreed with Denny's more before they even started talking.
You do agree with Denny's, though?
Yeah, but I understand what Vicky's point is.
I get it too.
I'm on Team Vicky.
Because she's coming from like the whole, like we discussed before, a medium is just a way that they can communicate through us. So I understand that you're in a different mental state. But I can sometimes control what I dream about, like whatever I'm thinking about. Like if I have some anxiety about a test coming up, I have a dream about me showing up naked to school and I freak out. You know what I mean? It's usually in my subconscious, and that's what usually happens. That's why I agree with that.
Well, it's your brain throwing all the worst case scenarios at you before it happens, so you've already been through some bad ones, and when you get there, you're like, it wasn't even that bad.
Right. That's interesting.
Preparation
Yeah.
from your subconscious.
I think that's also why people have deja vu. I know we've talked about that before, because I think that
Absolutely.
sometimes it maybe hasn't
dream.
happened and it's not a parallel universe, but it's actually happened in your psyche, and then that makes it, because you don't always remember your dreams. In fact, supposedly you don't remember. You dream. Most people dream, but most people just don't recall them. They don't have lucid dreaming. So that, I think, is what happens with the deja vu a lot. Like you dreamt about hitting that 3-point shot at the end of the game, and you're like, oh my God, this is like, I felt like this had happened before.
Did you have something to add on, Vicky?
The only thing is, even as a psychic medium myself, my father does not communicate with me when I'm awake, but he comes to me all the time in dreams.
Okay.
And one of the messages in his dreams is that in the dream, he's always alive, but it's just temporary. And it's usually simple things. We're always in the house. And his message is, I do come back. I am here when you need me. But it's always in the dream. He's here for a limited time, and then he has to go. And he never communicates with me any other way except for through dreams.
When you wake up from something like that, do you feel good, or
Yes.
is it kind of heavy for you?
Well, there's that quick moment when you first wake up and you're like, oh, my dad was alive. And then you're like, oh, no, he wasn't. It was a dream. But it was that comfort of knowing that he comes back and that he watches us.
What are your thoughts on having dreams about loved ones, but they go the other way? They're not so warm and fuzzy. They're actually night terrors, and they're in a state of distress. It's almost like a horror movie. Because I've had dreams like that about loved ones who have passed.
Right.
But I've had good ones. Is that stuff that I'm putting in my brain because I'm watching, the Twilight Zone before bed? Or is that something from my childhood? Because I've had... It seems since I was a kid, I've suffered from night terrors pretty horrifically.
Right. And you could just be taking things, it's not necessarily that person. You may have other things in your life that are issues that you're dealing with, and when you go to dream, they're going to manifest themselves using that loved one.
Representing that.
Right.
That's an interesting theory. I love that. That's pretty cool.
I also think that you have more range. Like the more that I've got to know you, like I have friends that are actors in LA, and like they can cry on cue, like and when they're acting. But they're also my friends. They're always way more emotional when a real life thing happens too. So they're maybe more empathic, more insensitive, and I think that's why Vicky's probably said that she gets more sense of those kind of psychic or medium instincts.
Sure.
Because you have more range to that, which I've sometimes been accused of being more stoic. So like it's harder for me to
closed off.
Maybe a little closed off sometimes.
Why do you think you are closed off? Is that from your childhood?
I think it's more of I was a very shy kid. Yeah. I was like the nerdy jock growing up. I didn't.
Were you afraid to do public speaking, stuff like that?
I was, but now I force myself to do it because I like taking myself out of my comfort zone.
Were you afraid of like looking dumb by accident or tripping or something like big in front of groups of people?
That's a great question.
That's a big fear as a child.
I don't think I was ever afraid of messing up. I was more shy, and maybe shy has like an insecurity thing, but I was just more shy than I was about messing up.
It's always interesting to hear why people are the way they are. Because on the outside, you're a good-looking dude. You're on a reality show. People on the outside are going to say, this guy's, beaming with confidence all the time, and he never has any insecurities. But that's not necessarily true with anybody out there.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture. I had braces, shaved head. I was in the gym all day. Like, was a nerd, right?
How are you growing up, Vicky?
Very shy.
Were you
very shy? But I had that conflict of being shy, but being a Leo who wanted the attention all at the same time.
Ooh.
So I wanted to quietly get that attention without having to work for it.
That was a lot how I was as a kid. I was very shy too.
I'm a Leo.
I was very. I did not. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to speak around people. Adults scared the shit out of me, and I didn't really break out of my shell till I got into high school.
The other thing I think that I do is I'm more like left brain, like even like how I interact on the show. So I tend to think things more logically, and I've gotten in trouble where like a girl I'm dating may come to me with a problem or an issue, and she just wanted me to listen to her and like console her, and I'm like, well, just do X, Y, and Z, and we'll fix it. And she's like, I don't want you to tell me how to fix it.
Gosh,
I just want you to like be comforting. You know what I mean? So I tend to think too black and white on issues, and rather than more of my emotional side, I think is the other problem.
I wonder if that's the Leo side, because I'm like, if people don't come to me for comfort because I have like this awkward pet. Okay, it'll be okay. But if they want me to give them advice, I can rattle that off real quick.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to comfort someone quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denny's, you're not really good at that much at comforting either.
Yeah, I don't really like it. I used to fake it, but I've gotten older and I just don't even care about faking it anymore. Like it becomes so tiring. I'm like, I have to live a double life. So it's easier just to be honest.
That's what happens with age, man. Every year you're on this planet, you start to care a little bit less.
Eventually, you're like the grumpier old man.
Well, I think that's what happens. I think people get closer. I think as you get older, you know that you only have X amount of time, especially if you have someone that's died and you've been through that process and you've gotten older. You're thinking, oh man, shit. A sobering reality is we are not on this planet for that long. Even if you live to 99 years of age, you'll be on your deathbed and go, holy shit, man, that was really quick. I can still
100 years ain't even that long.
It's not long at all.
In the grand scheme.
It's not long at all. And I think people, when they get closer to the finish line, and I think when people get older, they think the finish line can happen at any time.
Yeah.
I think you start to change your perspective, and you can't sweat the small stuff, because if you do, you're like, what's the friggin' point?
Do you want the last 20, 30 years of your life to be like worrying about stuff? No, you can't waste all that time.
Just think about the shit you were worried about 5 years ago that didn't even come
trivial.
It didn't even matter. I mean, I'm thinking about stuff with work, with relationships, with everything that was even a year ago.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Nah, a lot of times it does not.
Yeah.
You always see that one stat, all those things you're afraid of in your entire life, only like 6% ever really happens, which is probably disease and death, because it happens to everyone. So, I mean, I think it's very bizarre, the human mind.
There's a really popular book. It's on the bestsellers list right now that I've actually bought for a few friends. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
Yeah.
And it's really popular right now, and it really kind of talks about putting it has a deeper context, but about not caring about trivial stuff.
And we also got a lot of feedback last week from how to let go. We talked about how to let go of just baggage and all that stuff. And it does coincide with the paranormal stuff, because if you are carrying a lot of negative energy, I know we've talked about people who get stuck in the past. When you're stuck in the past, I feel like if you are stuck there, that breeds depression.
Yeah.
And if you are stuck in the future, well, that brings on anxiety. And really, the hardest thing, but the easiest thing when you think about it, is trying to stay in that moment.
Yeah.
I feel like that ultimately is somewhat the key to it all, is trying to constantly stay in that moment. And it sounds so easy, but it's really not.
Be in that moment and enjoy that moment, and don't be looking too forward always, but also, to quote Dory in Finding Nemo, like always, keep moving, right?
For sure. And I'm not
You don't want to be stagnant.
Yeah, I don't say that to mean like not prepare for the future by any means. I think you can still live in the now and be somewhat ready for the future.
Yeah. Because anytime I'm in a tough place, I try to take lemons and make it into lemonade, so to speak, and just kind of use that negative energy for motivation, and like plan a trip, or try to have another bucket list item like crossed off, and that helps me like move on.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it with the paranormal, Vicky. If someone's got negative energy, they are more likely, if something is going on paranormal,
it's gonna pull more negative.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff can make them even more severely depressed, even beyond belief.
Yeah, and even Denny's can back me up in this. Energy attracts like energy.
Absolutely. Positive energy attracts positive, and you can actually repel positive by having too much negative.
Yeah.
And once you get down in there, I mean, like you said, once you give up hope, man, it's over. That's when the person's broken.
A lot of people are healthy. There's some big CEO of some company, and he's strong as an ox. He retires. He passes away 6 months later.
Yeah,
he loses the purpose.
I think people by nature have to have a purpose.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, we're creatures of habit.
Yeah, and you can be the healthiest person ever, and like Alan Thicke, that was the one. Celebrity deaths never really freaked me out or make me.
He had an aneurysm, right?
Yeah, he was playing hockey with his son, and he's this guy who's healthy and
Good looking dude.
Good looking guy. Everyone loved this guy. He's playing hockey with his son, and then dies. Was it a heart attack?
I think some
thought it was an
aneurysm.
aneurysm.
It was.
Yeah.
It was heart related.
I thought it was heart related. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
he
was.
passed
remember,
away.
there was a Hollywood psychic that had done a reading for a show, I think, a few weeks before that, and the psychic kept coming up with some kind of heart-related family issue or whatever, and he's like, no, everything's fine. There's no heart things in the family. And then, of course, after he passed away, they showed that clip.
Oh my gosh.
That the psychic had actually warned him.
It was bizarre too. They're carting him away, and he's giving the thumbs up. He looked like he was going to be fine, and then just passed away. Yeah, those are the ones that freaked me out, and that's why. And I don't say that coming from a place of sadness. I almost kind of say just carpe diem.
Right.
Don't get stuck. Is all I'm really saying.
100%.
You guys have any homework for me, Vicky?
Yeah. I do have homework, but someone wrote into us wanting us to talk about crystals and like positive and negative energy.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So those quartz crystals that they sell, do you think there's any power or benefit to having those around?
I used to not. I used to think it was all in your mind. It's just cute decoration for your home. But I have some friends who truly believe in these, and they have rather large ones in their bedroom. And the first time I noticed that I was sensitive to it, I went over and I walked into the room, and my whole body was vibrating. And I had to leave.
So what exactly is this?
She had a lot of different things. She had rose quartz. She had amethyst. She had the white quartz. I mean, she had all different things that she had researched that were supposed to all bring this positive energy to her room, but it was a small room and it overwhelmed me. I had to leave. And then I mentioned on another show, I took my daughter to a New Age shop, and when we were in the room with all the stones and the crystals, I had to leave. I couldn't stand in that room. There was too much energy.
Too much energy.
Yeah, I was
captured
too
in 'em?
sensitive to it.
Now, when that happens, what do you feel?
It's kind of like a little bit of an electric shock.
Is it good or is it?
No, I have to leave. It's very uncomfortable because it's like,
Is that spirit talking to you?
it's just the energy. I think I'm just actually picking up the energy on those.
So
those
the theory
crystals.
is that the quartz crystals, those are those big purple rock crystals you see. They have them in different colors as well, but that they store energy, they absorb energy, and that's positive to have around you. Is kind of the theory behind it.
What do you think, Mr. Beckett?
I'm interested in all this stuff. I'm interested in it, and I think that's something that doesn't have to be subjective. I think you can measure the energy, I think, that comes off these.
Have they ever done that before, where they've
I'm
truly
sure. I'll
measured
Google
it?
I'm sure they have.
But I mean, is it legit? Is it a legit study?
Well,
I mean,
now that
it's
I'm
been
thinking about
part of
it,
the practice forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could go. I could actually take my EMF detector.
and see if it picks up any
And go into one of
vibrations.
those rooms in the New Age place and see if I set it off.
I love that. So, do a lot of people use that too for for disease, for healing, and all that? Is that really the whole thing behind it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of them that have mental benefits, supposedly.
Emotional.
Yeah, so things like that.
And the person that wrote in was talking about positive and negative energy. Like, does the pendulum or the needle have to be in the middle? Can you go, kind of to your point, can you go too positive and then like it's too much and overwhelming? And it's like, do you have to figure out how to balance that?
I think if people are sensitive to it, they really have to be careful about how much they put in one small space.
Because I mean, is it something where you just have crystals hanging around to always kind of ward off any type of ailment whatsoever, headaches, even minor scrapes, stuff like that? Does it go from that low level of an injury up to cancer? How does that work?
Some people believe it. I mean, all I can tell you is that I did not believe it myself until I started to become sensitive to that energy.
And it's the stuff you buy at the stores for like not those.
Yeah, they're
those
not the
big-ass
ones,
rocks.
But I mean, they're
the ones
just
that are in the
harvested.
raw,
Yeah, the raw
natural.
ones.
The really popular ones are those orange Himalayan
I have one of the salt
the
lamp,
salt
the
lamp
salt
things.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got
yeah.
one of those at the crib. That's that one that's downstairs.
I totally want to. I want to crystal my whole place out now.
You should.
I want to overdose on crystals.
Bling it-
You're gonna
bling
be
it
staying up
out.
even later.
What I was going to say for homework is that, just the nerdy side, we've talked about things. We talk about, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but we talk about all the stuff that is weird and whatever. And what I find interesting is that there's certain levels of consistencies, right? And whether, like, why do all ghosts have a white sheet? And I Googled that, and that's because the dead were covered in a white sheet. And that's so
very
raising
cool.
from the dead, and that's why I became in theater and Halloween costumes and stuff like that. But why, in terms of not sci-fi aliens, but the sketches, do they all look the same?
Well, they don't.
They don't.
No, there's in
different
fact,
types.
Very similar though,
Well-
but very kind of kind of an oval head with the beady.
Those are the
oval eyes.
grays.
That's there's a bell curve in statistics. That's 60%, 70%.
You're right, a
of the
majority,
drawing.
they have an
and all the
elongated
Bigfoot,
skull.
all the Bigfoot. I'll
Again.
get you on my side now.
I'm about to come down, not come down on you.
He's even raised his
I
chair
see,
up.
I see you getting ready.
I'm like, no,
He raised his chair up.
keep asking me questions that are making my blood boil. No, the special that we were talking about, they actually go into the whole alien thing, and there are different species whatsoever. There's tall ones that are slender, gray with big ass heads.
Those
they
are the grays.
short.
Those are supposedly the bad ones.
Those are short little ones that are of darker color that've got wider faces. So
see.
there are different types
Got
that
it.
they're now to get to the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot. They are literally the skunk ape, which is different. You have a lot of sightings out there in South Florida or out in the Everglades. You've
Right.
got, the abominable snowman out in the Himalayas. You've got the regular Sasquatch or Bigfoot out in the Oregon or the Canadian border out there somewhere. So there are different types of half man, half ape type of species out there. It's not just one looking.
And they're all
Bigfoot.
different based on the
Yeah.
region that they're
Oh,
spotted in.
and if you look at it, there's several cultures throughout time that have done paintings and that have called it something different, and they are similar but different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Most realistically, I could see them north of Maine, they're in where Canada is, right on the border there, and that whole area of the French Canada and upper New York across from the Great Lakes. That would be where I would most realistically imagine that breed to be.
Yeah, people gotta understand there are parts of this world that it's not easy for man to get out. Even with a helicopter and to land and to get out there with all the terrain, it's not an easy trip. So is it so unbelievable to think that there's a species out there that has got great survival skills, that knows how to hunt, that maybe buries their dead in a certain way we can't figure out? Maybe they do something with the bones or the carcasses, I don't know. Is it so unbelievable to think that a dying species could be out there?
I totally believe. I'm a Bigfoot believer ever since I was a little kid.
I feel like I'm lecturing this.
What do you got to say to that, Megan?
In your face, bitch.
I definitely think it's possible. And it's not disproven until it's disproven. It's hard to disprove something that there's.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Bigfoot's this guy, out there that's, I've got problems,
Yeah, I hear ya.
and he's scratching his head. He wants to,
Stealing beef jerky.
Yeah, I think it could be an animal that's maybe a little bit more in tune with something that we are not.
Well, so weirdly, I how you get in those internet rabbit holes where you just fall down and you're reading all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I got in a big Bigfoot rabbit hole, oddly. Out of
Easy to
nowhere.
do.
It happens quick. But so here's kind of what I gathered from a lot of it. We haven't seen as many sightings lately, except for, the one from North Carolina or whatever, South Carolina. That was
North Carolina.
terrible. But what about, they often attest that it's the missing link. So, technically, in theory, every link prior to that has become extinct. Obviously, we're the ones that survived. So that would be one of the youngest links that would be out there. So more likely it'd be tough to find those bones, whereas where they're excavating these or finding the bones of the earlier links way, way, way deep in the ground and whatnot. So I'm wondering if that's, since it's a younger species, maybe that's why we've had sightings of it, and now that you've noticed they start diminishing as that species fades out completely.
You're referring to other Neanderthal type
Exactly.
species.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to get into.
I can't remember all their names. There's 20 of them.
There's still some popular sightings though with the Sasquatch.
There was the one we saw that was the most convincing to me. I think it was the one where they're in the swamp. They have footage of it walking, and then it walks kind of away from the camera, so it's hard to see at the last part. But there's it legitimately looks like a creature walking.
The reason why it does look better than some of the other videos is because this, whatever it is in the swamp, and you can see its legs in the swamp. Now, yeah, a human could be out there with a costume, but it was moving really odd, and we should totally post this video.
And it's better quality footage too than every other one ever.
It's better, but it's still
pretty bad.
As a skeptic, you're gonna this is complete horseshit.
Yeah.
So
Which swamp was that?
we got down that
So
rabbit hole.
we got in this Bigfoot thing. We were looking up a ton of Bigfoot stuff, and it was
We'll find it and we'll
Yeah, I'll
post it.
So I know
I'll
there's
try-
some
I can
Everglades
almost.
footage.
Yeah, and
out
some of
there.
the better stuff is in the Everglades.
Yeah.
Everglades is where we need to go. That's the trip we have
Yeah.
to do.
And one of the theories about that is that the Bigfoot actually during the day, that he's not nocturnal, and during the day he hides in abandoned alligator holes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why he smells so bad too, is because
Yes.
he's down in that muck and
muck.
that dirt.
That's a pretty good point.
What's the average-
Yeah, Vicky.
What's
Vicky
the-
with the exclamation point.
What's
And
the
he
a-
likes lima beans.
That's interesting. What's the average foot size of a Bigfoot?
I mean, they range from, the reports have gone from as small as 5 feet up to 10 feet, 11 feet.
No, the actual foot.
Oh, the foot? I mean, it's over
You have
Like
a cast. on one of
Shaquille?
them.
Shaquille O'Neal?
Oh, I think they're.
way bigger.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these are
And
giant.
wider, too.
Yeah, bigger, wider. These things are huge.
Well, he's 7'1". How big do you think the average Bigfoot is?
I would say they're anywhere from 9 to
Wow.
8
But I-
to 9 feet.
Except for like the skunk ape is smaller. I
Yes.
think that the size of them depends on the region that they're living in.
absolutely does. Yeah, although there have been some sightings of a taller skunk apes out in the Everglades, believe it or not. But again, people, every time they play a clip, especially for Bigfoot, when they have someone that's had a sighting. So, sir, you saw Bigfoot? Oh man, I sure did.
Yeah.
You're like, damn it.
Bigfoot look real pretty.
Yeah, it's all my brethren in West Virginia.
It hurts our case.
You're like, why can't a business guy see Bigfoot?
Yeah, how come like a
on
lawyer,
his way to
a guy,
work?
yeah, a guy in Wall Street? I saw a great Bigfoot. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, he's probably not out in the Everglades. That's why.
That's
You're
right.
right.
That's absolutely right.
So homework? Anything else that you have, or is
No,
that?
I was just gonna comment that UFOs, and whether a Bigfoot was had white fur, or dark fur, just it's funny the sketches with the aliens. Most of the ones that I had seen outside of sci-fi, where maybe they're taller or shorter, but they're all bipeds.
Yeah.
They're all kind of.
We have to get you watching some other documentaries, my friend. Much to learn.
Yeah.
Vicky, what do you
Well,
have?
just to piggyback a comment when you were talking about the different aliens and you talked about the tall, skinny ones, there was a show, an episode of Dead Files, where Amy Allen, she went on a location and she saw these very tall, thin creatures, and she basically identified them as aliens. Not any kind of a spirit, not demonic or anything. She called them aliens. And they were
Wow.
the really tall, thin ones.
That's the big one. I think they call them the Greys, and supposedly they're the ones that would be doing the testings and
What
whatnot.
if the Greys would be upset of them calling them the Greys?
I don't know.
It's
I
kind of
think,
racist before they're even here.
I think they they probably hate us for many reasons.
That's fair.
Yeah, well, they said the crash at Roswell produced some alien bodies, and that, like I said, I keep bringing up that one general. They had a few generals commenting about the crash at Roswell and all that stuff, and the one guy swore, this is, again, a decorated military man, he was watching them, asking the alien question. The alien was sitting at a table and asking, they were asking questions, almost kind of like cross-examining the alien.
Wow.
And did he say that they spoke through telepathy as well?
Yeah, a lot of the sightings, and according to some of the reports, some of the alien bodies that they discovered didn't have a mouth, didn't have a nose, just had eyes, and it was all through mind shit.
Do you think relationships would be easier or harder if you communicated telepathically?
Oh, I do not want a girl inside my mind. I don't
Well,
know.
you would be showing them what you want them to see, right? I mean, you would have, or you mean they can just lock in?
I'm
Can they
saying,
can they lock in and
where
hear-
it's just full disclosure. Everything just full disclosure.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. No, I would not want anybody to ever know what I'm thinking all the time.
That's the one place you're safe.
Yeah, it's the one place. There's no thought police, and thank the good Lord for that.
When you were young, did you ever wonder that? Like, if people could read my mind right now, they would think I'm insane, you know?
I think that as an adult. I think
Yeah.
that now. Yeah, no, I would not want. Now, would I want the power to read someone's mind? I think if you're able to have thick skin and get over yourself, it would be amazing.
You would be unstoppable if
You'd
you
be
had that ability.
unstoppable.
You would be way too powerful.
and I think if you're that powerful, why can you have thick skin anyway? You
Yeah.
dominate.
Because if you think about it, in a way, it's kind of like having the power to see into your girlfriend's phone. Because you're seeing what she's telling all her girlfriends, and it's
Yeah.
unfiltered, whatever. And we've talked about this before. You don't want to see all that. Like, you're not meant to see that.
Yeah, don't spy on anyone's phone.
No, you don't want to see that. But if you had the ability to be able to spy on somebody, they never know, and you have that ability with like if
That
I
makes
could,
you ultra powerful.
if I could look at everyone right
You
now,
would just hate everyone.
you would.
that sucks.
You would-
yeah. You think I would hate everyone?
I say people. People would just hate
You
everyone.
would never ever. Yeah.
You would hear your mom talking shit. I would hear my mom talking trash about me, and I'd be like, "Mom,"
Yeah.
you know, like she would be complaining to my stepdad about something.
Because I feel like everybody will eventually complain in their mind about somebody.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
Yeah,
right?
It would ruin your life. You would be miserable if you could read people's thoughts.
No,
But you would be ultra powerful.
You'd be ultra powerful.
You would control everything.
But power sometimes does not equal happiness.
It's not. I don't know if it's worth it. That's too much.
It's like social media. It's like I heard Joe Rogan. He was like, "Man, Obama was the first president that could Google himself," and he's like, "Oh," he said like all these people like talking trash about him.
No, you try not to read.
Internet's another ultra powerful thing that nobody realizes how powerful it is.
Oh, well, because anybody with a friggin' computer now, they can be, just the meanest, the most racist, insane person, and they've got the power to get their message out. And it was never like that. Yeah, you could go out in the street and do your thing, but now, I can send something anywhere, and people are going to get my message in seconds, and then people share it just by sitting on their couch. That is insane.
And you got lizard men controlling things behind a screen. You can't even tell.
Well, you guys want to do a lizard man debate?
I don't know. Who am I going to debate about lizard men?
Yeah, I still can't get on board with the lizard man. I want to. I want lizard men to be real. I really do.
Well, here, think about this.
All right.
And this is merely just to expand you guys' minds. But if you think that, all right, you subscribe to the concept that there's an all-knowing power that controls life on this planet. There's a lot of religions that follow that. People that are spiritual believe that there's a higher being.
Vicky, you believe that?
Yes.
And Ryan, you believe that?
Yeah, I believe in a higher power.
A higher power, controlling decisions, deciding how this planet's going. Obviously, we have influence on it as well, having free will. But at the same time, like we're created and we're almost governed by a higher power. Why can't that higher power be a giant lizard?
No,
Why is it an energy light? Why is it an old man with a beard? Why couldn't it be a lizard?
I get your reasoning, almost kind of like if there's elephants and giraffes, then why could there not be a Bigfoot?
Yeah, you got an animal that's 20 feet tall because it's got a long neck. That's insane.
A giraffe is an insane-looking animal. Think about it. There's nothing on the planet that looks like...
Look at an aardvark. That's an insane animal.
Yeah, we're used to saying, oh, it's a giraffe because we were born with definitions. Oh, yeah, because that's what we do.
There's fish in the ocean way deep that never ever come across another fish like them. So they can reproduce with themselves because they're like, I'm never going to see another person.
So I get your theory on if all of that's possible, why is it crazy for...
Now, that being said, it does make you sound insane if you think there's a lizard race. I get that. I get it.
And you're mixing cold-blooded and warm-blooded. This would be hard.
Well, the other thing, too...
they're alien lizards. They could be used... cold-blooded, actually... it would be tough to travel through space if you're cold-blooded because you would never be able to digest anything, I'd imagine. You'd have to have some sort of heating pad. But...
If I see anyone swallow their chicken whole, I'm going to start questioning it.
And maybe, too, we tend to do, especially here in the West, we put a label on something.
Everything.
We see something and go, oh, it's the lizard man. And then everyone's got this thought, almost kind of like that one, what's the one effect we talked about? The Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone just says one thing and then it becomes the fact, and it's not fact. It's not even true. Maybe they're seeing something, like Vicky said, that resembles something that looks like a lizard. It could be anything. It could be...
And there's nothing more devastating than discrediting media. If you could discredit the lizard man's like, yes, I'm set. Now nobody believes in me.
I'm going to go back to hanging my hat on that I think we give the human race too much credit sometimes, in that it always comes out. It eventually always comes out, and people always end up finding out.
Do you think it always comes out? Do you think there's some conspiracy theories out there that we're never going to have the answer to? Someone really did. They hit it so well. There are murderers out there that have murdered several people.
And that lived until the end of their life.
They've lived a whole life. They've covered it up. They died with their secret of being a murderer. There's no way in the history of humans that's not happened. And it's definitely happened more than once. So you can bury something if you bury it the right way.
I would say it would be based on the scale of what you're burying, right?
For sure.
If there's one murder... There's one person that got greased money in certain ways, but if you're talking about like a 9/11 conspiracy, or you're talking about chemtrails, or you're talking about something that would have to include knowledge of tons of people, and that was something that was nefarious, something that could be a potential.
You're like, how would they not ever leak that?
Not ever get leaked. If a girl cheats on you, you may not find out, but you're probably going to find out.
Not always. Again,
not always.
That's
but that's a small thing. But I do think eventually it comes out.
Well,
eventually
think about
it comes out.
The sighting of aliens came out. That was a leak. and nobody believes that. Only like half the population.
No,
you know?
that's actually growing.
It's growing for sure, but
it's
like
over
that's
half.
something that could have been leaked that now is discredited.
Yeah.
Just because
So the point is if it's a girl that you just started dating and she made out with some guy at the bar when she was blackout, you may never find that out. But if you're married to her and she's hooking up with your best friend, it's, you know what I mean? Like the size of the crime, it's going to come out.
I mean, the higher the scale, it's going to be harder to keep. And I totally
Someone
get
else
that.
is going to figure it out, and that's Jay Bird's wife at Blue Martini. Like,
I got married? What?
yeah,
No, I'm just
you
kidding.
met her at karaoke.
No.
But I'm sure information gets leaked all the time. It's just it depends if it gets buried by media. Media is controlled by
Well,
people who own the companies.
I think it depends on when the crime occurred, too.
You're right.
I think that plays a factor in it, like Jack the Ripper. Even though there's a lot of theories, there's even a new one, lately based on what they think is a diary. We're still never going to have, I don't believe, concrete proof who Jack the Ripper really was.
For sure. They never documented it well enough that we catch
Yeah.
him.
I think technology makes it harder, too. Jack the Ripper is way easier to go off the
Oh,
grid.
yeah. I mean, improbable, yes. Impossible,
No. Yeah.
I don't think so.
I agree.
We got phones on everything, or cameras on everything now. So, I mean, anything's going to happen. People catch it now.
And I agree. Like, I love that our judicial system is set up where we rather let a guilty man go free than put an innocent man in prison. And that's our whole philosophy on our court system. And I agree with that. So if there's a shadow of a doubt that guy may not be guilty, you got to let him go. That's what they tell the jury and everything like that. And that's how I carry over to however crazy thing we talk about. If there's any possibility, you got to have, because like we talked about, people were positive the world was flat for a long time.
For sure.
And then until it wasn't, and people are like, okay, you're right.
Well, I think, too, you have to examine and look at the past. What conspiracy theories in the past have proven to be true, and at what level were they? Has the government ever done something at a chemtrails level that we've got proof of? Has that ever happened?
Think
No.
back to like the church when they used to, for wealthy people who didn't want to go to church, who were worried about going to hell, they would sell them you could buy your way into heaven. They used to sell those, and
They
that was
still
like
do- they
told
still
to
do
you-
that.
That was told to you by a person that you're supposed to admire and look
Right.
up to. I mean, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
It is. So are you saying that something like that on that level?
I'm saying that there's totally anywhere there's power, there's going to be some sort of form of corruption, or
Totally.
some sort of
I totally agree with
agenda
that.
that
But-
has to be achieved.
Can-
But
can-
chemtrails level, no.
Yeah, that's my question. Have we ever gotten proof of something that the government has done that was at a high level conspiracy that proved to be true, like a chemtrail? Because there's all these conspiracies
You're
about
right.
9/11, chemtrails, reptilian, people in government. Has anything ever that level been discovered that our government's done?
At that level, yeah, I guess.
And if it hasn't, then you have
but
to
you
start
wonder
to-
if it's been discovered and discredited immediately would be a concern.
example.
Well, I'm just saying anything that came out, hey, we saw an alien. Next day, sorry, that wasn't an alien. It was a guy in a costume.
Well, we go back to Roswell and Area 51 and all that, and that's exactly what happened. They said this
There's
crashed.
tons of people
this
seeing-
crashed. It crashed, and then the next day, no, it did not crash. It's a weather balloon printed, and that is.
And then they got Area 51 famous for having aliens, and then they built Area 52 away from there where they actually did their experiments.
You guys ever hear about Area 52, Vicky? Denny's break off some knowledge.
Though they built a second base in New Mexico when they realized that everybody was getting into this alien craze, and they were like, all right, so let's keep the people's attention over here. Because, I mean, you had the original accident was Roswell, New Mexico, and the base that they took it to was in Nevada, and which was Area 51. And then when that gained popularity, they moved everything to Area 52, where they continued to experiment and let people keep researching this base. It didn't mean anything anymore.
I've heard. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard if you go up to Area 51, they threaten you with killing you. Say,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to shoot you if you don't leave.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
And they're surrounded by minefields and stuff.
Has anyone ever got shot out there? Has
I
anyone
can
ever had
imagine.
the balls to go there? I mean, you would think somebody would.
I bet every day so many people go there just to annoy them or bother them or snoop.
I mean, I don't know if that'd be a cozy road trip or not, because once you get there, you have to turn your ass.
Well,
right
if you
back.
go,
I'm not going to go with you guys to see if we're going to get shot. I'd rather do the devil tree.
But there's there always just there's obviously going to be deception at that high of a power level. I don't tell everyone to subscribe to these conspiracy theories. Just know that there is a possibility that Big Brother is not telling you the truth all the time.
Vicky, what do you believe what Denny's is saying, or is
Absolutely. No.
Denny sounding like a typical pothead that thinks?
No, I
The
totally
answer
get
could
what
be
he's saying.
both.
No, I totally get. I think there's so many people. The more power you have, and I may get backlash on this. The more power, I think, the more corrupt or corruptible you become. And I think that our government sometimes has way too much power, and they want to keep us in the dark about what they know and what they're doing. So absolutely, these things could be occurring, and we have no idea. And
Yeah,
they're just covering it up.
I remember I got promoted at the Limited. I used to work at that woman's store, the Limited. I got promoted, and I was kind of a dick for a week. I'm like, yeah, I got a little power.
Walking around, you got your earpiece in.
I think everybody, you have a little bit of power.
Wearing
You're right.
somebody just sweaters.
There's a little bit of corruption there.
There's a documentary I just watched on Netflix called it was a Stanford experiment where they had
half the people prison guards,
half
half
the students.
People, yeah.
What
That's
is this?
a big experiment.
You got to watch this.
Okay, give me the.
It was Stanford in the 70s. A psychiatrist at Stanford did a study with students. He paid them $15 an hour, a lot of money back then.
Yep.
They were college students. And they flipped a coin, made some of the guys guards, some of the guys prisoners. And they monitored them like Big Brother style as to what happened.
And they had to carry out duties.
They took their identity away, gave them numbers, like happens in prison. They brought in an ex-convict to consult with the psychiatrist to make it real world. They made them, embarrass them in like certain ways, like they do in prison.
They gave them typical things like guards and prisoners each had their role, and they had to act out as if they were these characters for, I forget how long the experiment was.
It was only a week and a half. They had to shut down the experiment.
They had
early.
to cut it halfway through because
the guards were getting like power trips and like crazy.
And they started abusing them.
We started watching this movie. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a big deal. That was a pretty big experiment, but that just shows you give somebody a role, you can see how easily corrupted they are.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And then you give somebody a submissive role, and you see how easily they crumble.
Like a reek from Game of Thrones.
Like a reek. They all reeked out.
Psychologically started freaking out.
Yeah.
People started believing it was real.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that long.
Yeah.
Well, there are actors that get too much into their role too,
Yeah.
and they start
Go into
acting
a
like
dark
their
place.
character.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
To Vicky's point, maybe I'm drinking the United States Kool-Aid, but to Vicky's point, like you have a
What's that taste
Goes
like?
down smooth.
if you have a government that's like China, like they're more in control or like a dictator as to what's going on. But if you have a republic or a democratic society like Canada, United States, a lot of the other countries in the world, and you have people, civilians running. I mean, Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he was a civilian 6 months ago.
For sure.
You have people.
And we're free enterprise over here.
He's in chief command. You have people in Senate and Congress that are civilians that some, like a McCain, he's been there for a long time. But a lot of people in Congress are there for a term, 2 terms, and they're out. And someone else is getting cycled in from different parties, different belief systems. And I think that makes it harder to be corrupt in the sense that, not to say there's not special interests and lobbying and stuff
For
like
sure.
that, but if there was a chemtrail, 9/11, like those kind of conspiracies, that's a big thing to orchestrate to keep a secret.
For sure. I mean,
That's-
you would just not tell anyone except for the people that need to know.
And that would be the Illuminati type stuff.
Illuminati.
Well, they said even at NASA, what they do is they will be making a part for a ship, or actually,
Yeah,
a
they
part,
make the parts at different places.
They'll be making a part for. They have no idea what they're making. They just know that they have to make a part, and then everything is on a need to know basis. So from the bottom level all the way to the top. So let's say you're building an engine. The bottom guy is building it. He has no idea what
You
he's
build
doing.
a wheel.
He gives it to the next guy. He adds on. He has no idea what that is until it gets to the higher ups, and they're the only ones that
That's
know
interesting.
that.
Well, that's
yeah,
true.
and that's how they run it.
That's true, because that's how the Manhattan Project was when they were
For sure.
developing the nuke. A lot of people working on it did know.
And
Like,
everybody's trying to keep their job.
it's true. My boy Einstein, he was consulting.
Oh, yeah.
So
That tore him up.
you're an Einstein lover, and you're what, Henry the
That tore him up.
Enter the eighth.
Henry
yeah.
the Eighth.
But they wouldn't give him a full security clearance, so he couldn't fully consult because Hoover thought he was a commie socialist.
For sure. Well, he that tore him up having to do when he realized what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
not good for him. So, I mean, because you realize you're creating something that's going to destroy people.
We're talking about the Manhattan Project. Oh yeah,
And the nuke.
yeah, and I mean, I think I could see someone like a NASA running their business like that, where no one knows jack shit. And you're right, people don't want to lose their job.
So you said like a dictatorship with any other country like China or whatever. We are a republic, like you said, which is cool. But at the same time, there is a lot of control going on here. If they made a law tomorrow saying that you can't have podcasts on Sundays anymore, we would stop doing it because it's a law. It doesn't seem that bad right now, but in 20 years when there's 20 more of those, you realize it's a big picture thing is happening, where
Right.
they're really like closing down any sort of like freedom you would have.
What seems like something happening that is this small over time,
Oh.
it's great.
If a guy comes in, changes everything one day, everybody's gonna go crazy. If a guy comes in and changes it over 40 years, no one's even gonna notice. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's probably a better way of doing it.
Let's
Not to bum everyone out.
no, not at all, Cheech. So this is a little bit. I would put this in the weird / whatever category.
Okay.
So sex robots are on the rise
Oh,
now,
yeah.
and there's article after article talking about how now
I'm stoked about this.
Sex robots are going to be more of the norm,
Yeah.
and like you're saying, in 20 years. Sex robots, just robots in general, not just sex robots, but people having full-on relationships
With robots.
with the robots. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where you go out and you sit down at Outback Steakhouse and, you know, some guy comes up, hello, can I take your order? I mean, is it going to be that prevalent to where they're going to be in society? And are they going to play clips of me? Oh, I just spit all over it. Jeez. Man, I spit big time.
You look like that snake shooting venom.
Pavlov's dog.
I look like the lizard man. I don't even, what was I talking about? I don't even know.
Going to Outback
Sex
and
robots.
the robots.
Oh yeah,
and-
are we gonna get to a point where robots are so ingrained in our society that it's not going to be normal? And are they going to play clips of me from 20 years in the past? Those robots are going to take our
Yeah.
jobs, and I don't like that. And I'm going to be called a dick 'cause I didn't
Yeah.
like robots.
Yeah, of course. It's happening at the auto factories right now.
For
But,
sure.
but I'm not talking about
You're saying like a robot that'll be taking your order and stuff.
like
I mean, they
human qualities where people are coupled up.
like what's that movie with Harrison Ford there, where they're all robots. He's got to hunt down the robots that went renegade. Blade Runner. You ever seen that?
no.
Oh, dude, that movie's solid.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Check out Blade Runner. But anyway, in the future, they have robots that coexist with humans, and then a few of them started going renegade, and they realized what they were.
It's like an
So-
iRobot.
It's like iRobot before, exactly. This
Yeah.
Ridley Scott, the same guy that did Alien, which I remember you liking, right?
love Alien.
Yeah. So you check it out. It's great.
Yeah.
I digress here. But anyway, so some of them become self-aware. So his job is to hunt the ones that become self-aware. So I guess ultimately your fear would be that they would become self-aware, then uprise. But like you could design robots where you go to this place and order your food right there.
That's different.
And then
That's not,
something
I'm, not,
wheels it out. You want something
I'm not talking about that kind of. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
You're
I'm
You're talking about
about
robots walking around and like
Yeah.
living with us and getting
Okay.
their own rights.
100%. It's without a doubt 100% going to happen.
So we talked
no way you're gonna
about
stop
I
it.
agree.
being able to read everyone's minds. All right, I want to. What would I get if I told you guys this? What would be the honest thoughts in your minds if I had that ability? If I said, if you guys found out that I was in a full-on sexual relationship with a sex robot?
I'd be.
I think
if
that's
she had a
awesome.
sister.
Dude, you could definitely
Stumbled
see,
a little over that one.
Are you getting excited, Mr.
You could definitely see the appeal of that.
You
'cause-
sandbag it, son of a bitch.
So okay, so you would not think that was. You'd be like, oh, dude, just doing what he's got to do.
100%. What do you guys are sexting in their cell phones all day nowadays?
Okay, so it wouldn't. You would not be weirded out. Visually think about me humping the robot. Like I'm doing the whole thing.
No.
Okay, Vicky, you being the female.
I wouldn't care what you did behind your closed doors anyway.
No, I'm not
But
saying-
no, I wouldn't. My only concern with anything like that would be your emotional well-being.
Okay, but what if I was really?
What if it fulfills it? It
Yeah.
talks to you. It
She's not going to cheat on him.
Yeah, but what if it was? What if it was just strictly carnal? Is that? Do you think majority of people would be like, oh man, Bird's a weirdo, or would you? And I'm not having sex with robots. Just to let everybody know. I know it sounds like that I am, but I'm not. But is that something to where is that so taboo right now, or do people not really give a shit, and the media makes a big deal about all that stuff?
It would be weird. Online dating was really weird at first.
It
really
was.
taboo. And now it's like weird if
now
you're
it's
not.
the norm.
Now it's the norm. And I think eventually it'll be this like
Robot
weird
same
thing. It'd be this weird thing, and then it'll be normal, you know. And like, I think that it'll always the goal would always be a human, right? Like, and I don't know how graphic.
No, it might take over
how
to a
graphic we get
point.
on the podcast, but you know,
I mean, at
Yeah,
this point,
same.
women have
Okay.
vibrators. That's the original selfie stick, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a little different. We're
It's a
talking-
it's a robot. I mean, it doesn't have intelligence, but it's
so,
like
so Vicky, as a female, you're not weirded out by that.
No,
Do you
not
think most?
especially.
Do you think most females would be, or no? Probably not.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm not speaking for the majority of females, but
I bet that'll become the normal, man. I
100%.
think people will get sex robots. Because think about it. Everybody's so busy right now, especially with the cell phones and everything. Everybody's busier than they ever were. So many people don't like to deal with relationships. They have bad relationships. They have bad experiences. Why not get a sex robot?
It's
take the edge off.
It's almost better than a hooker because you won't get any diseases.
You get no diseases.
great.
It's all at your house.
Beckett's really. I'm pretty surprised Beckett's so pro sex robot.
You
I'm
wonder
stoked.
if that'll ultimately become the ultimate crowd control. Is like everybody finds that it's easier to meet people at places to get the conversational stimulations and to go back to your sex robots and have sex with your robots.
Yeah, or
even
have it join.
Have a relationship with a robot that you're invested in if they get them to that point, and then they wouldn't reproduce with other people.
Have you ever done dating online stuff before, Vicky?
yes,
Have you? Did you have a good experience with it?
I have 2 children from it.
Really? Oh, I guess so.
Success.
Have you ever done it, Denny's?
I never did. It wasn't big enough when I was like
And you've been
the
in
dating
relationships
world.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
I usually my relationships typically would last a little bit. I was a lengthy relationshipper.
What about you, Ryan? Have you ever done any kind
I've been on it. I had fun swiping, but I didn't really.
what on Tinder?
Yeah.
Tinder's the most carnal.
But that was
most,
that was like 2 years ago. And
Tinder is, but Tinder's kind of fun though, just because.
Yeah.
Cause
It's like a game. It makes a game out of it.
Yeah, what's weird is sometimes you'll see somebody you work with on Tinder. You're like, oh man, do I swipe? What do I swipe here?
Yeah.
Remember we worked with that one
Yeah.
chick in Miami?
That's funny.
I always swiped left really quickly, so hopefully I swiped left before they saw me.
Or you swiped, you accidentally liked somebody you didn't mean to like. Has that ever happened
Yeah,
before?
or I thought it was really funny. I'd screenshot it and send it to him.
Yeah.
See, no, I had to do it the hard way. That was back in the AOL chat room days.
Oh, yeah.
When I met mine.
yeah.
So you had to go in the chat room, and somebody had to send you your message, and you had to have a
Like
conversation.
any studs in here?
Yeah, and then you'd have to meet up and see if
Chat,
you liked-
chat rooms are so popular. I remember that back in the day. And you'd always
geez.
try to find the sex chat room if you were, a horny teenage boy.
Oh man, it's so funny. Once man was given the internet, the first things that popped up was like looking for sex on chat rooms and porno sites.
Oh my God! I've known a couple people who have their relationships have been damaged because porn is so easily. People can get it. And,
It's easier than getting.
So this one person I know, and I won't say any names. They don't live here local, so we're all good. But they would they had different schedules than their mate, and they would in the daytime take care of business, and then when they would meet up, that person was tapped out. I mean, that's something you really do got to be careful because
Yeah,
I think you
save
can.
it up.
I think you can totally get addicted to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's why sex robots will absolutely take off because porn's so easy. You can just get it done and move on with your day.
I guess I know the sex robots will work. I'm talking more about relationship robots.
Like robots that take over the relationship role.
Well, I'm kind of worried. Like, what if we have all these robots and people have relationships and they're doing all our jobs? What are we doing?
I say that, and every time I say we can't have the robots take our jobs, there's always someone that says, Bird, this is just the way things evolve on this planet. Things come, things get better, and then the things that were once get destroyed, and things have to become more efficient, and that's the way of the world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of depressing when they say that.
What-
But they're saying if something's more efficient,
Yeah.
of course.
Of course you're gonna do it. The minute we got a microwave.
It's hard to draw the line because when you're building the pyramids in Egypt, and you're like, well, if we had a crane, we could just do that. And we're like, well, you're going to take these. I mean, they were slaves back then, but you got to take these 30 people out of
They're
job,
losing a job.
moving the boulder. Well, you can't stop human progress because of that. You got to figure out smarter ways. The big problem is it erodes our middle class because you have people working in service jobs making less than $100,000. Then you have hedge fund guys, Silicon Valley guys inventing apps making $50 million a year.
Yeah.
And that's when you have less of an industrialized economy, it starts to erode the middle class, which is what made America so strong.
And that's that psychic you coming out that you're worried about the people.
I'm worried about the people.
And I'm with you, but
I'm with her. I just think it's inevitable to
Yeah.
answer your question. The robots are happening, and it's going to be a big thing for the human race to figure out how we're going to overlap and move forward with technology. It's going to be a big moral issue.
Because
think.
I agree with you, Vicky, but then there's going to be people who are more on the side of Beckett that are like, look, it's going to happen. They're coming. Get used to it. But you're right. How do you decide what jobs go and what jobs are given to the robots. If they're doing it better, do they deserve it?
Well, it was like that movie with Joaquin Phoenix where he fell in love. There wasn't even an actual physical being.
Yeah, but it was
an emotional bond.
It was ScarJo's voice, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ScarJo.
Yeah, he fell.
Are you
in
saying
love.
that tips the scales because it was ScarJo's voice?
voice.
She's very sultry.
She's very sultry.
So
Yeah.
how do they have male sex robots like right now? I know
Because they have
chick
sex dolls.
ones.
They have
Vicky?
sex dolls.
Male
Do
ones?
they-
I don't currently have one, but
I was just saying, how would that work though?
I would imagine they'd have to
Yeah, it'd be just like
supply and
How would
demand.
they do mish though?
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because female one makes sense, but how would a male sex robot do the missionary? And that's like the most standard one.
Well, you could, if you want to break it down, you could at least get. I mean, there's ways you could pelvic thrust that thing. You could have it. You could hit a button. I think you could have it lay on you like a carcass, and then hit a button, and then it thrusts.
If a machine can build a Corvette in Detroit, it can figure out how to.
I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna find out about this.
Yeah, Beckett, do me a favor. Can you go on Virginia's computer and Google
Type male sex
robots?
robot.
I just leave it open.
Yeah, I'll tell you. She'll walk in tomorrow and go, "What the is this?"
Yeah, I just don't see how that would work.
I can see how it would work. Think about it.
Add it to the shopping cart.
If I was a robot and you laid me and you're the woman, you're on your back, okay?
Yeah.
You put me on top of you. Now I'm laying on you. There's a button that you hit on the side of a
But
hip.
I mean,
and
that's
then
not hot at all. You gotta
Well,
press
I mean,
buttons
look.
on the side of them.
Look, man, you gotta tweak these
There's
things.
some guys you got to kick.
Yeah.
So what's the difference in the button on the side?
$8,350.
Yeah, they're up there. Let me see.
Is there really one?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, leave that up for
Wait,
sure.
let me just see it. I just want to see how it works.
Denny's is not. You're really blown away by this.
I just don't see how it would work.
I think it's just sort of for like med school kind of thing. I don't think it actually is mechanical. I'll keep researching.
Well, not to get too much detail, but you probably could detach part of it and use that, and and then.
Well, I just don't see how it would get the movement, the gyration.
I don't know, man. They're doing a lot of stuff with technology.
They have a YouTube video here on a male sex robot.
Well,
man.
that's something we might have to delve into later.
Denny's, do you have any more homework?
Yeah. What? Oh, I mean, what we're at? One.
I figured we'd give the people a little bit extra time just because we haven't done one in about 10 days.
I heard. Well, yeah. I just broke my headphones when I stepped on my cable. So I brought it up a while back here, and we kind of never got back to it because I forgot about it. But we were talking about Salvador Dali, and did you guys see he was recently in the news? You know Salvador Dali, correct?
Yeah.
He was the famous painter. The famous one is the melting clocks.
Yeah.
Well, he was a pretty eccentric guy, and he wanted to be embalmed like a what do they call that with the Egyptians, where they put him in the
Mummified?
sarcophagus, mummified. So he got mummified. Well, some lady came out saying that she was his lover and that her kid is his. So they had to exhume his body, take him out, and dissect him to do a DNA test on him, like a Mari-style DNA test to find out whether it was or not. And when they pulled him out, his body was mummified, except for his mustache was remained exactly in the iconic manner that it was when he was buried.
Can you show it to the camera?
And nobody could figure out how his mustache maintained. It didn't grow, it didn't shrink, and it stayed in shape through that
So
mummification
what
process.
happens when you die? What happens to your hair?
I thought your hair and nails
still grow,
Continue
right?
to grow
Continue
for
to
a
grow.
little bit, yeah.
And his didn't.
Well, his mustache and all his other hair did. His mustache stayed exactly the same, well preserved.
Maybe it was fake.
Yeah, maybe it was fake.
Ooh, that's a good theory. I didn't think about that.
Look at that.
Salvador Dali.
Look at that mystery solved, just
Boom.
like that
Done.
in a matter of
Let's
minutes.
wipe our hands of it.
All right, what else you got there,
Fortunately, I
ladies?
had one other thing.
Angelica, can you edit that part out, please?
Whatever. So this is more so just to for Beckett here. I found this and I thought it was really cool. But they mathematically figured out how to time travel, the exact code. We aren't capable of doing it yet, but they found the math that works out perfectly for time travel. So I thought that was just a cool discovery. In case you guys were.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely read that after.
What
the
do you
podcast.
think, Vicky? Is Denny's nailing it or is he failing it right now?
I wish. I mean, you know me. You know where I'm going if it works. So
What do you-
You guys don't think that's cool?
I
that
think it's. I'm just
mathematically they
busting your
figured out.
chops, man. I think it's.
It's
very-
Salvador Dali.
Come on, you don't think I love time travel? You
Alright.
don't think I want time travel to be real? You know I do. We've
But
talked
they
about
figured out the math for it, so now we just have to figure reverse engineer, full circle, back to the beginning.
So, but how would that work though? So if time travel is proven to be real, I could, in theory, go back to 1982 and see myself. Would it be like a Back to the Future where I'm like, oh, there's little Jaybird. Jaybird, don't do that.
I have a hard time with time travel. The paradox is too great for it to occur.
But
I don't know how you could go back and see yourself and exist simultaneously at the same time.
Well, you're the educator here, Vicky. Is there any kind of shot of that?
I don't know. When I ever thought about time travel, I didn't think about going back to a time where I existed. I always thought about going further back, not seeing myself at an earlier age.
You wonder if it would
so I never came across that problem.
God, I'm stuck in the Back to the Future. He goes back,
But again, you think about it.
He wasn't
every
born
single
yet.
thing we do can affect what happens. It can affect the outcome.
For sure.
But at one point in Back to the Future, he does see himself with the Libyans. So he
goes back. Yeah, when he goes back a little bit before the time. That's right.
he sees himself. So I guess that's my question for all you science nerds out there. Does time travel, is it in theory possible to go back to a time where you were alive and see your younger self?
It blows my mind to think that would be possible. But there's way smarter people than I that are saying that it is. And I agree. If it does become possible, I mean, someone inevitably will end up doing it, but I think it should be made illegal.
Is there one thing in your life you would go?
It should be.
Is there one thing in your life that you would go back and change and stop from it happening, or is everything just the way it's got to be?
It's the way it's got to be.
I would not change anything.
Unless I'm dead or like I lost a limb or had some disease, I'm not changing anything.
Well, I mean, because that question's going to be different for everybody. I mean,
for sure.
If you never lost a limb, or you've never had a disease, or lost a child, or lost a loved one,
I agree with you.
I would go back and I would have gone to college right out of high school. That's my biggest thing.
For a year.
yeah, Amsterdam,
several years.
Amsterdam, Vicky.
Playing around in those chat rooms.
Oh, yeah.
But now I want to time travel in the respect where I can literally walk the streets and see what's going on without them seeing me. So I'm not affecting the outcome of anything.
I don't know if it works that way, though. I mean, you time travel back and you're just, a mind that nobody sees?
You're just basically invisible, but you're experiencing everything around you, but nobody can interact with you or anything
that's what
like
they
that.
argue.
But then
Aliens
you wouldn't get a college degree. You'd have to be in person.
Well, I'm going back to Henry VIII right now. So I'm walking
Just
around the
just
court.
so-
So you can't see me.
It's getting real trippy in here, Becky.
Dude, like just observe history.
But just as time travel in general, I would want to observe and not have any interaction so I could ruin anything.
That'd be a hell of a history class where you could just go there and
Yeah,
watch it
and
happen with the
experience
class.
Okay,
Imagine-
a DeLorean pulls up downstairs right when we're leaving, and it says, you guys can go anywhere you want, and you'll come back in about 3 years, and you'll be safe. Do you do it?
Oh, damn.
Will I lose time here?
You would lose 3 years.
You would lose 3 years.
I wouldn't leave.
1 year.
I'm 35. Like I'm in my.
You're in your prime.
This is my years.
you're in your prime. When does one become out of their prime?
I guess when you start feeling it, like there's that point where you just say, like, man, I'm tired.
I'm out of my prime. I'm tired. So you don't do it?
No.
Do you do, Vicky? That means you have no contact with your kids for a year.
I know. That's the only reason
like
I
as
wouldn't
if
go.
you vanish.
You vanish for a year, but you
No,
can go
I can't
anywhere
vanish.
you want.
No, I got too many people depending on me. I can't vanish.
Do you do it, Denny's?
Oh, it's so big.
You're about to get married.
I know. I probably couldn't do it.
You're gonna come back.
You would
like,
have to be a free man to do.
You're gonna
something
come
like
back
that.
like Tom Hanks in Castaway, and your girl's gonna be moved
Oh,
on.
she moved
like,
on. I'll be standing in her driveway like crying.
in the rain.
Oh man,
Wilson's gone.
I think I do it, but I'm not engaged. I don't
Yeah,
have
you got.
kids.
You could do it.
Yeah.
You would be a local mystery too. You'd be on the news where it's like.
And then I come back in a year and what a story to tell, and nobody would believe me. They
3
think
years.
they think I went on a 1 year bender.
You'd be an instant multimillionaire because you'd write a book, you'd have a movie, you'd be done.
All right.
Where would you go though?
I've told you before. I'd go to dinosaur times.
Oh my god.
You might not
that's
come
such
back
a
then.
bad
I might not
idea.
come back. I might not come
You
back.
would go back to dinosaur.
You might die.
Like Jurassic period.
Yeah, shapeshifter. I would. I'd go back to dinosaur
What would you
time.
do there?
I would see what the hell really went on. I'd like to know. Was there? I feel like it's possible that maybe that was a time where there could have been something like aliens, going around the Earth because it was so not habitated by man. There's nothing screwing anything up. It was at one of its purest points.
The monkey wrenching on that,
That's-
are you going to have this protective shield, or are you going to have to fend for yourself in dinosaur times?
I think I'm about to fend for myself.
Oh, I don't know if
You're
you're
not
coming
coming
back.
Maybe I need to rethink my time
I would
travel.
definitely not go
All right,
there.
screw it. I'll go back to the 60s.
That'd be fun.
That'd be real fun. Okay. I'd probably still do dinosaur times. I'm fascinated by the Wild Wild West as well.
God, I think it
Those
sucked. You
terrible,
like die from
terrible
scurvy.
times, dude. Good God.
Die from scurvy.
People died just walking then.
Man, the room's really turning on you. Why? When were you going to go back? You're going to go back to what
I
time?
wouldn't go back to that. Let's see.
I know we've talked about this. I forgot.
Yeah, we have talked about this. I forgot what I picked last time.
I think you said the 60s.
Yeah, 60s was cool. Oh, we were talking decades, though.
No, we said anytime
Anytime.
because she picked Henry VIII, and I picked dinosaur times.
I picked Gatsby.
I'd have to go
20s.
somewhere.
I picked Gatsby 20s.
I'd have to go somewhere.
Yeah, Gatsby 20. Yeah, short-term memory, Denny's.
Yeah, I would do 60s California. I'd be on the front pioneer movement.
Yes, you would be. I love it. That's a good place to stop today, I think. Well, thank you guys for listening. Go ahead, plug your Twitter, Mr. Beckett. Do you have anything coming up you want the people to know about?
Becky List, why don't you tell karaoke? Because I might show up for karaoke next time.
When is our karaoke? It's not this Friday.
Not
yeah,
this one. I think it's the next one or the next one.
Yeah.
I would just say maybe
We haven't looked
You're
yet.
talking to the booze hounds over here.
I would just say keep the direct messages coming in on Weird and Whatever. Because
Yeah.
any questions and any suggestions, because I think we're going to do your house, right?
Yes, we're
Forwarding.
yeah. I know we've been talking about a ghost thing and all that. Unfortunately, me and Denny's had about 2 or 3 projects with the morning show that came up, and those have to always be done first. So
Yeah.
if we have something and then we have to do a video or something, not unfortunately, because we like doing it, but
Yeah.
just this has to kind of go on the back.
Yeah.
burner
So any
slightly.
suggestions the audience has with like locations, we've kind of kicked the ball around Lake Worth Playhouse. And,
Yes.
and
I think
any
your
questions
house would get freaky deaky.
Where?
Your house.
Yeah, my house right now is very active. There's some weird shit going on in my house right now. But I thought maybe it might be better to do Mr. Beckett's first, possibly.
Because it's got a little history to it.
Yeah, I think it might be nice to do, because I think I'm going to have more activity than you. I'd be shocked if you had more activity.
Do you, is the competition now?
This is the Hunger Games, bitch. Everything's a competition.
I'm wondering if I have a significant reading at my house, if I'm never ever gonna have a girl be able to spend the night over.
Nah, you'll be
Oh,
fine.
dude, they'll be even
They're
more
gonna be freaked
aroused.
out.
No,
No.
they'll protect
We've talked
me.
about ghost rapes here.
No, they'll be fine.
Oh, dude, they'll be-
You got too good a hair for girls to be scared of a ghost.
That's not what's going to scare them off.
Vicky, what do you have to promote?
Emails, you can send them to contact@pointparanormal.com, or if it gets kicked back for some reason, Nancy38Drew@AOL.com.
Okay.
You can also find me at Twitter at Producer Denny's, or you can send me an email, kvjdenny's@alphamediausa.com.
I'm at Jason Bigfoot. Thank you guys for listening. We love you all, and
Bigfoot is real. And this is Cryptozoology.
oh yeah, this is a song we had done back in the day. It's kind of trippy. It's all about cryptozoology type of stuff, and we might have been slightly buzzed.
We might have been drinking. We might have been drinking during this
We
one.
might have been doing some
Bring
stuff.
it on.
Thank you guys.
You gotta believe in something.
You gotta believe,
Because it's better than believing in nothing.
cryptozoology.
You know we are lovers of all of the creatures that haven't been discovered.
Zoology.
They're freaks of Mother Nature. We're here to teach about their habitats and behavior.
The school system should take out math.
And replace it with cryptozoology class.
We're cryptozoology addicts.
We want to learn about Bigfoot, so screw mathematics.
And it's a fact, Bigfoot's a real species.
Cause scientists have found Bigfoot feces.
And chupacabras keep on multiplying on this earth.
Cause scientists have found chupacabra after birth.
Cryptozoology.
The definition's this: the study of the creatures not yet proven to exist.
Cryptozoology.
We're dropping that knowledge. You'll use this more than the stuff you learned in college.
It wasn't just zebras, cows, and aardvarks.
There was unicorns and yetis on Noah's Ark. It is in the Bible.
Hey ladies, the lizard man is real.
He's looking through your window when he wants to cop a feel.
This is all based on
It's
science.
as real as it
We
gets.
know it's true.
Cause we read it on the internet.
So many undiscovered species in this world.
And you don't wanna know how we found out that Nessie is a
Cryptozoology.
Come learn about the Jersey Devil, cause we're taking education to the next level.
Cryptozoology.
I wanna get laid by a beautiful, sensual mermaid. You gotta believe in something.
You gotta believe. You gotta believe.
Because it's better than believing in nothing.
You gotta believe. I believe.
You gotta believe in something.
You gotta believe.